of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get the Henrys at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food, Henry's soul food. What we need, soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com. Oh, you know what? I gotta give it to Senator John McCain. He's in a world by himself. So the Senate Foreign Relations passed a resolution today, giving the president the authority to launch airstrikes against Syria. They made it clear that there would be no ground troops, and they gave him 60 days with the possibility that it could be extended to 90. Now, our hero, prisoner of war, got to have respect for the guy. John McCain was furious. I guess why John McCain was furious. They did not go far enough. We needed to have troops on the ground. We got to do more than just strike them. We've got to take them out. And so, therefore, he cannot embrace the resolution. Now, let me ask you. Is it time for John McCain to call it quits, Logan? Are we missing something here?
Yeah, you're missing something.
Okay. Tell us what we're missing.
If you're going to get into a fight, okay, you don't signal to your enemy that you're going to tie one hand behind your back and fight him with one hand. You don't mention that before you enter into the fight, okay? Because you've already lost. I mean, it's like saying, I have a gun, and I'm telling you I'm putting exactly 2 bullets in my magazine. Okay? If you limit yourself to 30 days or 60 days, whatever it is, and you say, you know, this is going to be a limited engagement, all they have to do is wait you out.
Bob Unger, you agree with Logan?
Not at all, because I actually adhere to the Constitution, and the Constitution makes all of this completely illegal. And so it really doesn't matter whether or not you think we should attack Syria or we shouldn't. If you're going to have a war, and of course these phonies are using Orwellian language out of 1984 to say, oh, this is really not a war. Well, if you get a bomb dropped on your head, I bet you think it's a war. And if somebody dropped a bomb in the United States, I would think that most Americans would consider it an act of war. If you're going to go to war, you have to declare war, and that can only be done by the Congress. And the Congress cannot authorize the president to do anything because the president does not become the commander-in-chief unless there is a declaration of war. But, of course, these days the Constitution is just a meaningless piece of paper to most people.
Now, Logan,
let me say, you don't disagree with me. I agree 100% with what you just said. All I'm saying is I'm explaining McCain's reasoning, and I think it makes sense.
Well, I think McCain and reasoning is an oxymoron, but that's another story.
Well, that I disagree with you on that, but I think, look, I don't think we should be going into Syria in the first place because I don't think we have either an in-game or enough of an interest, a strategic interest to be in Syria, because I don't know which side to back. I don't know whether we're better off with the rebels or, believe it or not, with Assad.
You don't even know if anything you don't even know that anything you're hearing is true, since
That's right.
These politicians and the word lying is a redundant phrase. Why would I believe anything they say?
Well, look, you know the old joke about how you can tell whether a politician's lying.
His lips are moving.
That's right. Okay. So let's get this straight. I think it's very foolish for us to go into Syria without having a clear idea of what our objective is. That's first of all. Secondly, if you go in to win. Don't go in and announce that you're just you're just putting 2 bullets in your 6-shooter.
But what is there to win? We have no reason to go in there.
I'm not advocating that we go in there. I'm just saying, if you go in to win, and you have to have what the objective is. Is the objective to get rid of Assad? Is the objective to replace him with some specific other ruler?
Right.
I don't know what the objective is.
The thing is that none of the things you're mentioning are constitutionally permissible objectives. You can only engage in military attack if the lives and property of Americans are threatened. There is no way any of these countries that we attack are threatening the lives and property of Americans.
I don't believe the Constitution says that. I think the Constitution says that Congress may declare war. But I don't think it says that the only conditions under which...
If you read the Federalist Papers, you'll see that many of the founders said just that. As a matter of fact, Thomas Jefferson said it. George Washington, in his farewell address, warns against this type of thing. I mean, China was just caught, Communist China was just caught doing an exhibit of body parts. It turned out that the body parts were actual human beings that they had tortured to death because they were religious dissidents. Maybe we should bomb Communist China, or maybe we think we get our butt handed to us, so we don't do that.
Well, maybe we should have bombed Saddam Hussein when he released chemical weapons on the Kurds.
And maybe we should have bombed Washington when they gassed the Branch Davidians in Waco.
And maybe we should have bombed Mogadishu when over 500,000 people were killed. Or the gassing that happens often in Africa. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous talking about some standard that America doesn't stand for. Let's go to Bernard on the comment line. Bernard, you have a comment for Bob and Logan.
Armstrong, how you doing, young man? You and your guest?
Fine, thank you for calling.
I tell you what burns me up. It's amazing how they can sit up there and not try to come up with some kind of solution to our American problems with jobs and trying to put people back to work and, trying to make sure things are good with the people trying to get back where they need to be since the economy went bad. But as soon as it's time to go to war, oh, yeah, we agree to that. I understand that war creates profits and jobs, and mostly they just want to go to war because they got these people that get these private contracts that go over there and get rich as hell, excuse my French, and come back home just as fat as a cat and still don't want to do nothing for nobody. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Logan?
I have to tell you that I agree with the caller that our major problem right now is jobs and getting the economy going, and getting the economy going so that all Americans are benefiting from the economy. I have no disagreement with him on that. This particular fight with Syria just doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't heard a rationale. I'm not an isolationist. I don't believe that I disagree with Bob on the reading of the Constitution.
Well, Logan, the word isolationist, once again, another euphemism out of George Orwell. An isolationist is if you're living next door to me and you invite me to dinner, and I say, I don't want to have anything to do with you because I'm an isolationist. What I really am is a guy who, if you have a fight with your wife, I don't want to butt in to your personal fight with your wife. So I'm a mind-my-own-business guy. I'm not an isolationist. I think that we should have relations with all kinds of people. We should trade with all kinds of people. There's nothing wrong with that. But to butt into the internal affairs of another nation is an outrage and contrary to everything this country was based on.
In general, I would agree with you.
In what aspect don't you agree?
I think there are certain aspects where there are
Extenuating
America has
circumstances?
strategic interests where we must get involved in internal affairs. Now, I think that's very, very restricted, very, very unusual. You know, they have to be very compelling strategic interests. And
Now, give us an example for what you consider to be compelling using history.
okay, you know, for example, in Afghanistan, it wasn't the Afghanistan government that actually bombed the United States, but the Afghan government provided cover for a group that basically did 9/11. And we had a strategic interest to let another government know that if you're providing help and cover for our enemies, we're coming after you.
Hold that point. We're coming back. Bob Unger has joined us after so many years. Logan Delany is with us. I'm Armstrong Williams. Our phone lines are open, 1-866-620-6620. We'll be back.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea, Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the show. Logan, Delany, and Bob Unger are our guests. Obviously, this is a faceless war. And it looks like the United States and maybe France are in this solo. What is the best and worst case scenario? I'll start with you, Logan.
Well, the best case, I don't know that there is a best case scenario. The best case scenario is that there continues to be a stalemate after we interfere. The worst case scenario is that Israel, the Soviet Union, Iran, get into the fray here, and we have a world war.
Bob?
Well, I think that Israel is perfectly capable of taking care of itself. As a matter of fact, I'm very involved and active in trying to put a real leader into Israel named Moshe Feiglin. And, he understands that a country has to be independent and sovereign and not be involved in any of these United Nazi Nations alliances. And countries have to make decisions based on their own interests. I think that one of the reasons why we're getting involved is we're trying to stop the dollar from crashing, because we've been on this petrodollar standard with Saudi Arabia, where they prop up the dollar by making sure that oil is purchased in dollars, and we prop them up from being overthrown. But this is all ending because many of the BRIC nations are beginning to trade in their own currencies and to trade in gold. So this whole ship is going down, and it's going down big. And frankly, I think that America is a dying empire, very similar to the Roman Empire. We better wake up as a people and get back to what made America great. America was made great by liberty and by the Constitution. 95% of what the government does is completely unconstitutional. And if we continue on this path, we'll have to borrow more money from the Chinese so we can bomb them.
Logan?
I find myself in 95% agreement with what Bob is saying. I'm slightly more optimistic than he is, but...
You know what the definition of a pessimist is? A pessimist is simply an optimist who actually knows what the heck is going on.
Well, you may know more about what's going on than I do. But I agree that most of what the U.S. government does, if you looked at the Constitution as it was originally conceived and as it was interpreted up until basically 1913, people 100 years ago would not have really understood, how do we get here? How do we have so much government? How have we given up our liberty? We have given up our liberty for economic security, whether it's Social Security, whether it's Medicare, whether it's Obamacare. We've given up our freedom, and there's a cost to that. You can't walk down a major street in the United States, in a major city, and not have your photograph taken several times on a block. You can't walk into a major office building and not have your photograph taken. You have no rights to privacy anymore. If you carry a cell phone, Uncle Sam knows where you are. I read 1984 when I was a kid, and 1984 was, a few decades away or 2 decades away when I read it. And I thought, it can't happen here, using Sinclair Lewis's, great title. It can't happen here. And yet, here I am, in 2013, and it's 1984, and most Americans don't even realize that it's 1984 in the Orwellian sense.
Well, in 1936, a great Jew by the name of Ze'ev Jabotinsky traveled to Europe and warned the Jews that they've got to get out and they're going to be killed. And of course, they responded in the same way people respond to me most of the time. You're crazy, you're an extremist, blah, 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 blah. Well, as they were going into the gas chambers, I guess they may have thought that Jabotinsky was right.
You know, I think it's important that we really help people understand why Syria is of vital importance to Iran and to their ambitions to become the foremost power in that region. You know, they use Syria to arm Hezbollah and then to attack Israel. Right? They also use it, which we don't talk about enough, to traffic weapons and terrorists to destabilize Iraq. And second, Assad was, is, and always will be a very dangerous anti-American dictator. Remember, he helped terrorists get into Iraq so they could maim and kill American soldiers. We should never forget our history because there's so much of it going on right now. Sometimes it's difficult to piecemeal it all together. And this prolonged conflict is creating vast ungoverned spaces in Syria, which are turning into the premier operational area in the world for jihadists to operate. If Assad does not face consequences for what he has done and continues to do, it sends a message to other rogue governments like North Korea and Iran that they too can cross the red lines without fear. That is why those who argue what happens in Syria is none of our business, I think, are completely wrong. And that is why many people have urged our president to use a more robust engagement in the hopes of helping the Syrian people replace Assad with a stable, secular, and moderate government. And while many of us, and I think Logan and Bob Unger would agree with me on this, have argued forcefully for engaging and empowering the Syrian people, I don't think any of us have ever would even consider. I know I want the use of military force in the conflict, despite my trying to outline why Syria is important. I am unconvinced that the use of force proposed by the resolution that came out of the Foreign Relations Committee today will actually work. The only thing that I believe that would prevent Assad from using chemical weapons now and in the future is for the Syrian people to remove him from power. And so the strike this administration wants us to approve by both bodies of Congress I do not believe it any way further that goes. In fact, I believe that that military action of the type that's being contemplated might have proved to be counterproductive. And so why? After a few days, and we know how it goes, we saw it in Iraq, we saw the air power, we saw everybody feeling proud of America with the missiles flying, and people are saying within days we're going to win it in 2-3 days. We remember all that from Iraq and how excited we were about America, and America's still a superpower. It was all in shucks. But guess what? After a few days of missile strikes, what I'm afraid of, which we have not talked about, and I want to get Bob's and Logan's comment on it, it will allow Assad, for example, to emerge and claim that he took on the United States and survived. And by the way, I also think that this action could unleash a series of events that could further destabilize the region. We've seen it too many times before. This idea that a military response is the only way to respond to what is happening in Syria is just not true. Our response should have always been and should still be a multifaceted plan to help the Syrian people get rid of Assad and replace him with a secular and moderate government they deserve. And that's what needs to happen. Logan?
Armstrong, I'm a believer that you can't win a fight without boots on the ground. Now, that's a tactical, sort of a strategical question. That if you get into a fight, you have to be prepared to win, and you have to be prepared to put boots on the ground.
But it should be our fight where our interest is threatened.
Yeah, where our interest is, right, okay? Now, having said that, I think there are things that we can do short of direct military action that might help the rebels if the object is to get rid of the Assad. I mean, in terms of, you can arm the rebels, you can finance the rebels, you can give, humanitarian aid, etc., to the rebels. But I don't think that we, the United States, has an interest in directly going in and intervening in the military situation in this particular case. But if we decide to do that, you can't do it halfway by just okay, we're going to send a few missiles over there. We have done that before, and it has never worked.
Is that like being half pregnant?
That's what I think.
I know we're coming up on a break here. Robert Frost died. I don't know if anybody remember David Frost. David Frost, I said Robert Frost. He put words in Nixon's mouth, a ditty. Nixon made him famous. We're going to talk about the significance of David Frost when we return with our distinguished guest. Don't go away.
Hi, Mike Reagan here. The president has just delayed his Obamacare employee mandate for 1 year. But nothing has changed. The Congressional Budget Office still predicts 7 million Americans will lose their current insurance, and thousands of rules are being implemented today. Obamacare is over 20,000 pages, almost 3 times longer than the whole IRS tax code. Worse, the IRS is now in charge of enforcing the law. You need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the easy-to-read guide. It's called the Obamacare Survival Guide. Already a #1 New York Times bestseller, Newsmax calls it the best guide to the new law. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide today at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And to Bob Unger and to Logan Delany. Well, gentlemen, you both were probably too young to remember British TV journalist David Frost, who passed away at the age of 74 last night. And the pinnacle of Frost's career was a series of interviews with former President Richard Nixon in his post-presidential years. I know you both may recall, because you both are students of history, especially presidential politics, the fact that Nixon, who needed money badly, Logan and Bob, badly, to pay his legal bills, was paid $600,000 plus a percentage of the profits from the broadcast. The interviews were a hit. There was a Broadway play and a movie directed by Ron Howard. You remember Frank Langella did a serviceable job as Nixon in both, but could not capture Nixon's tics and idiosyncrasies in the way they remember Anthony Hopkins did in Oliver Stone's movie Nixon. And wow, that was a lot of money back there, Logan.
It sure was.
Now it's a pittance.
It's still a lot of money.
Hey, President Clinton gets that for one speech, $600,000.
Doesn't matter. It's still a lot of money.
There used to be a TV show in the 1950s called How to Marry a Millionaire.
That's how Logan found his wife.
She won the show. She won the contest. But it's funny because that $1 million today would be $9.5 million.
Really?
What about the $64,000 question?
No.
How much would that be worth?
A
$500,000 question now?
Easy.
So it would be $9.4 million today.
Yeah. I remember when I used to hear the word billion, I used to say, wow, that's a lot of money. Now I hear billion and I say, that's nothing.
When I first went to work on Wall Street.
Don't forget about David Frost, though, but go ahead.
Okay. I remember when somebody was worth $100 million, they were eligible for the Forbes 400 richest people. Today, you have to be worth at least $1 billion to be on that list.
Well, for that, you can thank the bank that isn't federal and has no reserves.
So what about David Frost and his impact?
You know, the Nixon years were very difficult years. I was in college during those years, and I remember those just being very, very difficult, and especially when you had to deal with the President of the United States being taken down, okay, and being taken down for political reasons, using bad judgment, and there were a lot of other factors, including the war in Vietnam that was going on at that time, and the civil rights movement. America had gone into a period of being very much let's throw out the past, let's throw out tradition. Basically, the academic institutions had become very, very liberal at that time. It was a very difficult period. Now, the David Frost interviews, which occurred after that period, shed some light on it, and with a little bit of perspective at the time, and I think it was a very important thing for David Frost to get Nixon out there and to have him tell his side of the story.
Well, I think that, Moynihan had that famous essay called Defining Deviancy Down, which referred to that we keep dropping our standards. And when I look back at what Nixon did, as unconstitutional and underhanded as a lot of it was, it really pales in comparison to what has happened now with the NSA revelations, the American people being spied on. I mean, Nixon was spying on the Democratic Party. The United States government is now spying on everyone and violating the Constitution on a second-by-second basis. And so, what was considered outrageous then would be run-of-the-mill. But then again, I live in New York City, where running for mayor we have a lesbian, a guy who sends his penis all over the internet. Look at the people that are leading this country. And of course, New York City is the most famous city in the probably history of the world. And look at our mayoral candidates. So, our government is a cesspool. It is a low-life cesspool.
I would tell you, when you look at the media today, you think there's nothing else going on in the world but Syria. Is there anything else going on in the world that's of significance that we should talk about, Logan?
Well, we are beginning to see the movements out of the recession. I think, there are some green shoots occurring. But it's still premature to say that we are really out of this recession. I think the thing that most Americans care about are jobs. And what we really have to do is what's happening to our young people. To me, the unsung, problem with this recession is the potential of having a lost generation of young people who have graduated from college, they haven't been able to get a job, or they haven't graduated from college, but they're looking for jobs, and they can't get their first job to really get them along the way. And so they sort of settle for things that are less than optimal. It's something that this is the first time in my lifetime where I've seen that America is no longer the land of opportunity. It's the land of people saying, well, maybe I can't take care of myself. Maybe I need the government to take care of me. And I find it a brave new world, which is very, very disturbing.
But Bob, what should the government be responsible for and take care of, especially when
Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution lays out the powers of the federal government as opposed to the state government, the city, and the local governments. And the answer is very, very little, other than very rudimentary things such as providing for the defense of our borders, which, of course, we don't do, because as my grandmother used to say, when you spend all your time doing what you're not supposed to do, you wind up never having the time, the inclination, or the money to do what you should do. And so government has become a daddy to people, and of course in this country we have a shortage of daddies because so many kids are born now illegitimate, or what the Jewish religion refers to as a mamzer. And, look, people have to decide, do you want liberty or do you want to be taken care of from cradle to grave? Benjamin Franklin said that those who would sacrifice their liberty for security will get neither and deserve neither. But this is a choice people have to make. The government wants people to be dependent because the more people you have dependent on you, the more power you have over them. I somehow never got into that mindset where I want to have power over people. I want to leave people alone to do what they will as long as they don't intrude on the rights of others. And I likewise want to be left alone to do what I do as long as I don't intrude on the rights of others. But we're so far away from that it will result in a complete economic collapse. I do not believe there's any green shoots. As a matter of fact, I think that what the government has done since 2009 is pump more monetary heroin into a drug addict, which makes you feel good if you take a little bit more heroin. But there aren't too many heroin addicts who have white hair because they die long before they ever have white hair.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Logan, one of your favorite organizations, the NAACP, met with the KKK this week.
Oh, did they?
Yes, and the KKK representatives tried to say the KKK today is nicer and kinder, but the NAACP wasn't buying it. Oh, you missed the big story. They met this week.
I missed that one.
Bob, did you miss that story?
No, I saw it, but, it's interesting about the KKK. There was a fella...
Listen, this was possibly the first time they met, by the way, and the security was unbelievable.
I think they have a lot of common, actually, because they're both racist, and they both love government power.
Listen.
So I think they make good bedfellows.
They didn't think they would come. This was a Ku Klux Klan organized, after all, and there were local leaders of the NAACP who were historic enemies. They spent months negotiating the terms of the visit to Casper. There were ground rules, topics to be discussed, and guarantees of a security team. They waited in a small, low-ceiling conference room in the Parkway Plaza Hotel, and then the four NAACPers walked in, and showtime, a community security man says, it's showtime, baby, and we'll be back.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Now, my guests are aware that the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl, right? You both are aware of this. I know you know something about sports. Well, you know, each winner of a major championship gets to see the president, right? You're aware of this, right?
Yep.
This is the first official partnership formed with a sports franchise to encourage, listen to this, Bob, to encourage participation, Logan, in President Obama's signature health care law. The White House sought a national partnership on Obamacare with the NBA and the NFL, but both leagues backed away under pressure from congressional Republicans. Supporters of the reform have sought partnerships with sports organizations because they attract an audience that is critical to the law's success. Young men. You know, remember Massachusetts famously partnered with the Boston Red Sox in 2006 to promote his health care reform law, which was the model for the Affordable Care Act. Maryland's health department said 71% of uninsured people in the state watched, attended, or listened to a Ravens game in the past year. Well, the president has engaged the Baltimore Ravens as his ambassadors for affordable care. Now, gentlemen, is that not a doozy or what? And they've accepted.
Well, it's pretty funny since the NFL is currently negotiating a settlement of somewhere around $1 billion to pay all of the brain-injured players who claim that the NFL deliberately withheld deleterious information in terms of the effect of the football career on the brain of the average ball player. That's in the news, too. So it's pretty hypocritical that the NFL is going to promote so-called health when they're being accused of withholding information that very adversely affected the neurological health of many, many hundreds of athletes.
Logan?
Look, the irony of this whole thing is that under Obamacare or any kind of health care which makes it mandatory that there be community rating, and that is healthy young men pay the same amount as unhealthy old women, which are the two extremes, means that young men are being asked to subsidize the health of their older members of society. Okay, this is a tax on young men. Now, the irony of this whole thing is that in order for the insurance to work, you must get the young men, or the insurance rates on everybody else goes up. But it's cheaper for most young men to pay the $2,000 penalty. Okay, and if they get sick, at that point, go and buy the health insurance, because the health insurance companies cannot reject anybody. So
it's like getting fire insurance when your house is already burning down.
Exactly. It's like Bob said it perfectly. It's like getting fire insurance when your house is burning down. Okay, so it makes absolutely no sense for any man under about the age of 35 to buy insurance. He's just better off paying his $2,000 penalty, and if he gets sick, at that point he goes out and buys the policy. But that drives the cost way up. Okay, and the unfortunate thing is that young men, and I can give you the example of how this works. Young men come out, they don't have any money. My son got out of the Marines, and I tried to get him insurance in New York. New York at that time had community rating. My son, in order for him to get insurance, it would have cost him, and he was, 25-year-old, as healthy as a bull, okay, coming out of the Marines, would have cost him $1,100 to get insurance. I knew we were trying to get insurance for a 50-year-old woman who had a heart problem. And the cost of her insurance policy was $1,000 a month, the same as for a young guy with no problems. Okay, so what did my son decide to do? He decided, hey, this is ridiculous. I got to pay $12,000 a year, and when he was in the Marines, he was making the equivalent of about $30,000 a year. I mean, that didn't make any sense to him. And so the alternative is that he could have gotten a policy in New Hampshire, which would have been a catastrophic policy. He would have had to pay $200 or $300 a month for it. And he was willing to get that and pay that because he could afford that. But he couldn't afford the $1,000 because New York was asking him to subsidize unhealthy older people. So he opted out of the system. And New York would not let him buy the New Hampshire policy, which he would have liked to have bought, and to opt in the system. I mean, it's crazy. So what they're trying to do is use these sports teams to get young men to participate in a system that it's not in the interest of young men to participate in. And why the sports teams do that, I don't know. I think that the NFL was smart in opting out of it, but I'm surprised that individual sports teams would get themselves involved in this policy, advocating something that's not in the interest of their largest constituency.
Well, in economics, they call that rent-seeking behavior. What they're really doing is they're buying off a mafia protection racket. They figure the government won't go after them if they kowtow and carry water for the government, and this is what's going on in every area. I have a rule about government. Whatever they touch, they drive down the quality and they drive up the price across the board. Take a look at college tuition, you name it. Look what people pay for college today. It's insane. And the reason is because the colleges know that students are being given aid by the federal government, and they commensurately raise the tuition. In the old days, when I went to school, you could have a part-time job working in a cafeteria and use that money you earned to pay for your whole tuition. Could you imagine trying to do that today, when even a mediocre college will sometimes cost you $50,000 a year?
I sent 4 kids to school and the cheapest for that 4 years of college was $250,000.
Wow.
Sure.
The cheapest
that makes sense. Sure.
was $250,000.
Insanity.
I hope
out of control.
When I went to school, and I graduated in 1970, tuition, room, and board cost about $3,000.
That's right.
My son went to the same school. Tuition, room, and board cost about $60,000.
Yeah. I spelled board, B-O-R-E-D, because half of these kids are majoring in courses that are vitally important, such as women's studies. I mean, they have all these cockamamie courses to draw in students. And you have to ask yourself, what future are these kids going to have when they're majoring in subjects and spending all this money and getting themselves into debt for something that will not result in a job that enables them to take care of themselves, let alone a family?
Well, they're barely making minimum wages.
That's right.
They're barely surviving.
When Obama touts the job numbers, he fails to mention that 77% of the jobs created this year are part-time jobs. You have kids with graduate and undergraduate degrees working as bartenders, waiters, you name it, busboys. That's no future. And how are they going to afford the cost of living? I mean, when I was a kid, I finally got my driver's license, I was paying roughly 30 cents a gallon for gas. A Subway was a nickel. The toll over the bridge was 50 cents. Now, if I just go over the bridge to New Jersey, I have to go over the Throgs Neck Bridge and the George Washington Bridge right there without any other tolls in between. I'm already spending $26, let alone $4 a gallon for gas. How could people pay that? It's impossible.
Because they don't know any better.
Wow. And they're using credit cards to
That's
do it.
exactly right. They absorb
Well,
it.
it's not. They don't know any better. If you look at the value of the dollar between 1800, right after the Constitution was passed, and 1913, which is when the Fed was created, a dollar in 1800 was worth approximately $1 in 1913.
That's correct.
You know, there was inflation back and forth during that period, but basically the dollar fluctuated about what the dollar was in terms of purchasing power over that 113 years.
Man, where did the time go? Logan, Delany, Bob Unger, we're out of time. Thank you both for joining us. Good day, everybody, and thank you, callers.